Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Nothing is as it seems in liminal London. Hidden amongst everyday people are werewolves.
You'll be the werewolf then?
Yeah, Mags.
Wizards.
Montgomery Archibald Barker at your bloody service.
And those cursed by the Fey monarchs of the city.
Declan Buchanan, PI. He has quite a large pair of antlers growing out of his forehead.
Join the unlikely misfits of liminal London as they work to take down the powers that claim to rule the city.
I think the Queen doesn't like you very much.
With incredible guest players like Johnny Chiodini.
You say there's Sludge?
Yeah, Sludge. Yeah, I'm the Sludge Boy.
Love Sludge Boy.
No, again, I'm not that Sludge Boy.
Grant Howitt.
Isaac Newton didn't study in Putney, did he?
Who's Isaac?
Oh my god.
And Shamini Bundell.
There's a magic community. There is. Yay, I'm in a magic community.
Go to realmspod.com or search Realms of Peril and Glory wherever you listen to podcasts to find this mysteriously magical actual play series.
Hello and welcome to Extended Play. I'm Keza McDonald. With me is Alex Simmons.
Hello.
And Daniel Krupa.
Hello, everyone.
So this is a new feature series that we're trying out.
What is it?
Well, we pick a game that's out and we talk about it in depth for about 3 weeks. So this week we're going to talk about it. The game's Deus Ex, by the way.
Continuously for 3 weeks. Yes.
This week we're going to talk about it. Next week we're going to be reading out what you think of it. And then the week after that we've got a special guest who was involved in actually making Deus Ex, who's going to come in and respond to all of that feedback.
Give us some insight as to how the game was made.
Exactly. So this is your chance to talk somewhere other than the review comments.
Yeah.
Once we've all had a chance to actually play the game, which I think is probably a good idea, right?
Yeah, if you love the game and you care about it, then we need to hear from you. Because without you, this is nothing.
Exactly. Indeed, the whole point of Extended Play is that we get feedback from all of you.
Yeah, and we just want you to play the game along with us.
Yes, and then we can all discuss it together in one big happy game-playing family. Kind of like a book club, but less feminine.
With less pages.
With less
starchy.
pages.
Yeah.
Less starchy. Less dangerous to trees as well.
But we should start with a word of warning, because this is going to be packed with spoilers, obviously.
On Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Yes, so if you haven't played the game, or you're going to play the game and you don't want spoilers, then switch off right now, because we are going to be ruining this game for you.
Yeah, definitely switch off.
But first, so Kez, you've played it for quite a few hours, same with you, Daniel.
Yeah.
What are your first impressions?
I'm a little bit overwhelmed by it all, because I've not played Deus Ex before, and I started out thinking it was one type of game, and then it became another, and then I realised it was any game I kind of wanted it to be. And that kind of overwhelming sense of choice and the way that I could determine the way that I played the game, at first I found that almost inhibiting.
Yeah.
And then I realised that it wasn't. It was the opposite. It was actually empowering. What about you, Keza?
I think playing Deus Ex before doesn't really have anything to do with Human Revolution. I think there's an ethos and there's a kind of approach and attitude to gaming that it shares with Deus Ex, but it doesn't share much. It doesn't share a universe, doesn't share a character.
Right.
I think I reckon only about 20% of the people who are going to be playing Revolution will have played the original Deus Ex.
Definitely.
That would be my estimation. But yeah, I've very, very much enjoyed it. I think it comes on a bit strong at first. It goes very, very deep into a lot of kind of, this is the setting, this is Seraph Industries, this is how it's all going, this is what's happening, and it's a bit difficult at first.
There is a big exposition dump at the beginning, but necessarily so, I think.
But then the great thing about it is after that huge exposition dump at the beginning, it just leaves you to it. And it has all the narrative there, it has all the texture and background there, but it has it in ebooks and it has it in newspapers. It just leaves it in the background and you can overhear conversations. It doesn't force it down your throat like games so often do.
Yeah.
So I'd say, again, the first impression for me would be that it's more than it seems to be.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned choice being overwhelming at first, because I disagree with that. Like, I like the fact that there was choice, but I wasn't so overwhelmed. It was just like the subtle choices. I could go this way, that way. I could be a pacifist. I could be a mentalist, which I chose to be.
like Darren Brown.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, quite.
But why did you find it overwhelming then?
I think just because a lot of games I've been playing recently kind of hex you down a particular pathway.
Yeah, they funnel you.
They
Very,
funnel
very
you, they
specifically,
bottleneck you.
Yeah.
Lots of other pointy pathways, and they lead you to objects, and you just get hectored continually and continually. Whereas this, I realised that if I died, I didn't have to do the same thing again.
No,
I could change it up. Whereas I think a lot of games, it's just you know what you have to do, and it's just sometimes beating your head against the wall until you actually complete that.
But
Whereas here you could
there
change
is a
your
level of
approach.
hand-holding there, because obviously it points out your objective quite clearly, but how you get there is kind of up to you. It's like you've got to get to this point on your radar.
It's been so long in a game since when I couldn't do something properly, I've actually thought, right, is there a different way to do this? Because usually it's like, oh, the game is not letting me do it, or I'm not good enough, or something's happening that's meaning I'm not getting past this point.
Yeah.
And it never feels like you're connected to that. And in Deus Ex, you do feel connected because you try something else and it works, and you think, aha, that's better.
I've never spent so long looking up in the air if there's any air vents or something like that, rather than just kind of looking, straight down a corridor, which is what you tend to do in these kind of games. But
Yeah.
like constantly looking for like a walkway above you or something that's kind of a bit of a hint saying that there's a different way to do this, and that might be worth checking out.
Yeah,
and moving boxes as well to climb on top of things.
I made the early decision to turn off the orange highlighting of objects that you can interact with.
Yeah.
This is a great thing about Deus Ex, incidentally, is that it does have the option to turn off objective markers.
See, I didn't realise that at all, and I'm going to do that as soon as I get home. I'm going to turn that off.
It does make it much more. It feels more like the original Deus Ex,
Authentic.
which will be a good thing for some people. And also, it's good that it's there as an option, because there are some people who will not be bothered to play it without the highlighting.
Yeah.
But I found it really helped because it made me look properly. Like I was looking around for air vents. I was looking around for stuff. I wasn't just looking around for the orange marker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, when I first saw that preview and I saw the orange markers, I thought, oh no, it's going to be too obvious.
Yeah.
But even with the orange markers on, I don't think it's that obvious.
No, I don't think it's like they've done a good job of concealing a lot of the secret stuff. So you have to kind of look around if you want to find it. There's the obvious route, but 9 times out of 10 there is an alternative route, and maybe even one on top of that as well. So, but I like the fact that it gives you the choice. It's not it's not Nazi-ish, not perhaps the right word, but they're not making it so inaccessible that people who, like myself, don't have that much time to play it can't enjoy it, because you've got the easy difficulty level, which means you can enjoy the story for what it is without getting killed every 5 seconds. Or you can, crank it up and then switch everything off if you want a pure kind of gaming experience. And that, for me, is the future.
Yeah, it's not Demon's Souls, is it?
No.
It's not like here is the
No.
game. If you want to compromise, then you're a pussy and you shouldn't be playing. It's
Yeah.
not like that. It gives you
Yeah.
the option, but it also does have the the very if you have 6 hours to spend on it, then you can turn all that stuff off and just immerse yourself.
Yeah.
But I think also the point of choice, we're all experiencing the choice in the gameplay, right? Stealth or attacky.
And conversations.
And
as
conversations as well. But do we feel like it's actually affecting the story at all at this moment? I mean, there's certainly
well. For
bits.
me, not a huge amount. Room by room, yes, because how I clear one room, whether it's stealthy or shooting to that level. But as I mentioned on the written article that's going to complement this podcast, it's, I accidentally killed all of the hostages in one of the rooms, but there was no real consequence of that. I think, my sidekick had a few sort of like horrible words to say to me, but then I just sweet talked her with a single word and she was fine. I just thought, oh, that's a bit weird.
There are some bits where certainly, I remember the first, in that first mission, there's the secondary objective where you have to rescue the hostages.
Yeah.
I didn't manage to do that.
Defuse the bomb, and then, they all died.
Oh,
Sorry
they all
about
died?
that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, hostages.
Yeah.
I didn't manage to do it, but I wonder if that's actually going to matter later on. I know at the end we had the weeping woman whose husband was one of the hostages, and that was I felt very bad about that. But I am interested as to whether this stuff will have longer term implications. I mean, I don't think it's Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure. I'm still not quite sure on that. I think it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah. So just on the boss thing where you have to kill the head of the kind of pacifist group, did you save the woman there?
I managed to save the woman, yeah.
I didn't manage to save the woman.
No, neither did I.
Really?
I'm not very good at this.
Oh.
I didn't like.
I wanted to. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to
it-
save her, but I ended up just killing the guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think you had
Did
three
you kill
options.
the woman
was
if you kill
like-
the guy? If you
Yeah,
kill the guy,
yeah,
does he kill the woman?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
no.
thought I'd be fast enough to
Yeah,
draw my gun and
that's
shoot
what
him in
I
the
thought.
Yeah,
face.
you were supposed to be augmented, right?
But
It was really slow.
exactly.
I was really slow and ineffectual.
But I think the fact of the matter is, it's if you choose that option, she dies.
Yeah.
You don't get the option, no matter how fast you are, you can't shoot her. And so I felt a little bit like, balls.
I think that's kind of a way for a game to force its. I think that whole first mission was a very elegant way of the game going. you've got to do stealth and you've got to consider talking around because, I mean, it punishes you really harshly for trying to play like an FPS in that level.
Yeah.
And yet later on, about 3 hours in, you can actually start playing it properly Rambo style and it's not so much of an issue.
Right.
I think that's just the game asserting itself.
Right.
And being like, you have to talk people down. If you just choose the shooty option all the time, it won't always work in this game.
Yeah.
Trying to educate you.
Yeah, I think it was quite subtle, actually.
Yeah. What about the art direction? They've made quite a big fuss of that.
Jean-Jacques Belletet, the chap who's in charge of the art of this game, I've spoken to him loads of times over the last 3 years. He gets
Mr. Amber.
He gets wheeled out and sat down at every single press event. I actually think it's quite successful. I think cyberpunk and video games have always been, certainly since I've been playing games, have always been intertwined. So I don't have the it's not as good as Blade Runner attitude to it, which some people do.
Yeah, Tom had an issue with that as well.
I think it tries to be Blade Runner, but I don't think it quite succeeds.
But there's a lot more to it than Blade Runner. It's more distinctive than Blade Runner.
I think so. I think
it's kind of the Renaissance vibe that's in there. It's there in the sort of costume design. Mm-hmm. There's fleur-de-lis patterns on a lot of people's clothing. But I don't know how successful that meld is there.
Yeah,
I think it works quite well in that it's certainly distinctive. I find what I find distracting, and I think everybody agrees on this, is the orange.
Yeah.
I know that's a really glib thing to say that it's orange, but it is pretty orange.
Yeah, in the same way that Fallout is brown, this game is very orange.
It doesn't ruin the game.
It's
not a criticism to say it's orange. It's just that it is.
That's its palette.
Yeah.
There's no avoiding that.
And in that respect, I wasn't sure if that was just kind of where I am up to in the game, but that sort of theme continues.
It does get more varied, definitely. I mean, after about hour 6,
deeper shade of red.
It goes back and forth between orange and not orange. I'm finding. Like,
what do you think of Detroit itself as a setting and how they've realised it? You think it's quite successful?
I do. They looked at. I saw a photo essay on the internet recently, about 2 months ago, about the dereliction of Detroit, because they've got all these buildings in Detroit they can't do anything with. They can't afford to demolish them, so they just got all these like ancient.
It is a broken city.
Yeah, these beautiful 50s buildings. Nothing's happening to them, and if you look at Deus Ex, it is kind of the logical extension of what happens when you let a city decay for that long.
Yeah,
I think that's quite affecting. I know that Detroit local news actually made a big deal out of Deus Ex, and we're like, look, we're in a game.
Right. Detroit is the murder capital of the US, or it was for a long, long time. It took over from New York, and it's been used in several films as this kind of nightmarish futuristic city, and RoboCop in particular. Yeah,
I think it's a good illustration of what happens when capitalism goes wrong. Detroit.
Well, Motor City.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of Deus Ex, isn't it? It's like we just kind of got to the tipping point, and the world kind of went a bit wrong for a while. But I think you have to be in a world that you want. In games like this, you have to be in the world has to speak for itself. You know, it's all very well showing you 60 cutscenes and telling you exactly why you ought to care about everything that's going on. What Deus Ex Human Revolution does really well is it naturally makes you care about these things, and it puts everything there. The context and the texture is just all around you at all times, and I think that actually soaks into you over hours.
Yeah.
Just to put that into context, I'm about 12 hours into the game now, a little bit longer perhaps, and it does just soak over time into you. I'm totally sold on it now. I've totally bought into the fiction.
Right.
See, I think I'm just before that moment. If I'm going to have that epiphany, I'm about sort of 5-6 hours in. At the moment, I'm still finding the setting and some of the characters quite alienating, quite cold.
Yeah.
The environment unengaging. I kind of like the overarching story in the sense of intrigue and mystery that I feel like I'm just stumbling onto the conspiracy elements of it. But I've not had that realization yet that you have.
Yeah,
How about you, Alex?
the same. Like, it feels like there is something big and exciting about to happen, but it hasn't quite happened yet. So I'm still kind of like, what's going on here?
How does everyone feel about the exploration? Because when I first started up Deus Ex, the first few hours, I thought, there's not going to be much. There's not going to be much exploration here. It's not Fallout.
Yeah.
It's not Oblivion. But actually, as time's gone on, I found myself just climbing up buildings, going in the fire exits, just breaking into people's apartments randomly and hacking their computers for fun. I've spent hours doing that. Yeah, the sewers.
Did you break into someone's apartment and you're on the computer? And then while you're browsing their emails, somebody comes into the room.
Oh, yeah.
Scared
That's
the
part of
life
the side
out of
mission.
me.
Yeah.
I felt I was doing something really, really naughty. But just reading their private correspondences.
But again, I wonder if that has consequences.
Well, the thing is in that particular mission it does, right?
Yeah, you end up killing this sort of drug-addled...
Well, I didn't kill him. I just tranquilized him.
He was coming at me with a bat. I didn't know what else to do. No, did I trank him? No, I think I just shot him.
Your response to anything.
Yeah, gave him roofies.
Don't surprise creeper.
Yeah,
he'll rip your head off.
Yeah. I did find that illustrates something very cool about the game, actually, which is that when you're in a hacking minigame, everything's still going on around you. Yeah. It doesn't just freeze the game. So you'll be in a hacking minigame and you'll hear someone go, who's there? Who's there? And you'll just have to come out and run away.
Yeah.
Rather than just be like, I remember in Oblivion, I was a big thief. I'm a bit of a klepto in games.
You really are. Well,
I love
not just
to
in
steal
games.
stuff. No, in general, I'm always nicking things off your desk.
Like a magpie.
Stealing tiny things off their desks. Yeah, in Oblivion, I remember running on foot for about 30 minutes all the way across the map to try and find my Thieves Guild representative so that they could buy me out of the enormous amount of bounty that was on my head. And I was being chased all the way across the world by these like 10 or 11 guards, just chasing me all the way there. Eventually I get there, I get into the door, I get into the conversation, and in the background I just see 4 guards with their swords raised in the background, completely frozen in time. I bought myself off, and then came out of the thing, the guards just all looked confused, put their swords away and walked back to the city. I thought that was a brilliant moment, but it was not very realistic. Whereas in Deus Ex, people are looking at you, and if you're sitting there hacking, people aren't magically immobilized.
So if it was in Deus Ex, you'd end up having to run around in circles while talking to the person who can buy you while they're chasing you. Yeah.
Actually, the hacking mini game itself, I think, kind of, it's almost microcosmic of the entire game, whereas you just thought, oh, it's a hacking mini game. I don't have to read the instructions.
Yeah,
I just press a button, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
Yeah, I fucked up from that. Like, I didn't properly I thought it's just be like Bioshock or something like that. And the first, I think that's why I killed all the hostages, because I didn't learn how to hack properly.
You really have to think about it and work out a strategy before you get going and start the hack, which I think, which is great.
Yeah. You're right. It is microcosmic of the whole thing. There's a lot more to it than you think there's going to be.
It is it's classic me and probably most gamers who don't read manuals.
Headstrong.
Every time you see the kind of tutorial bit pop up saying, this is how you do advanced combat. Fuck that, and I know how to do that. And then you get your arse handed to you on a plate very, very quickly.
Isn't that refreshing though? I found it because I did the same. I skipped the tutorials. I was like, whatever. Left trigger to cover, right trigger to, and it just totally wasn't like that.
Left trigger to aim.
Yeah,
no, not actually. We're going to use that for something else.
It is weird because the controls are all even like picking up ammo and stuff, which I would normally expect to be on
automatic.
X or whatever. It's on the other button. It's like, hang on a minute, that's throwing me a little bit. And the fact that you don't get iron sights when you're ducking out of cover.
You just have to click in the right stick for that, don't you?
Do you think that was an
But you
intentional?
can't get it from cover though, can you?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you think this was an intentional design point or decision, just to find it alienating and say, actually, what you're going to have to relearn for this game?
You're absolutely right. I think again, it's the game asserting itself.
Yeah.
Being like, this is me. This is what I think. But I think Deus Ex. We should wrap this up really, because we've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
But I think at the moment the main success of the game for me is just that whole thing. That this is what I am. Get used to me. But I'm not alienating. I don't find it's an alienating game. I think it's very natural. And I think that the main success of it, in my mind so far, is the writing, the narrative, the texture, the world. That's great. The actual stealth and gunplay, I'm finding it serviceable, but it's not why I'm playing.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Is that the end of the first extended play?
I think
it is.
Does anyone have any more closing comments?
Well, for me, it's more about, I'm only scratching the surface. And I think, I agree with you. I started playing it like I would any other FPS, and I had to quickly relearn everything that I've everything I know for the last 3 years, whatever. So it's kind of sort of going deeper on that and finding what the game has to offer. Because, as I say, I'm not that absorbed in the storyline yet, but I'm hoping that I will be. So over the next week, I'll be putting as many hours in as I possibly can.
Cool. Thank you for everybody for listening. We're going to be playing Deus Ex for the next 3 weeks. Play it along with us.
Yep.
And,
but
most importantly,
your feedback.
We need to know what you think. Just as important as what we think. In fact, way more important probably.
Yeah, definitely.
Is what you think. So you can send in your feedback, what you think of the game, what you think of what we said about it, to the email address, which is extendedplay@ign.com.
Yep.
We've also got Twitter and Facebook, which are
twitter.com/IGNUK
or facebook.com/TeamIGNUK.
Yes.
And obviously there are also comments threads. So if you feel like leaving a comment in the comments threads,
leave a comment anywhere. We'll find it. We'll collate it for next week. We'll stitch them together. We'll have a little symposium.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Until next time,
farewell.
Bye.
I'm Amy Nicholson, the film critic for the LA Times.
And I'm Paul Scheer, an actor, writer, and director. You might know me from The League, Veep, or my non-eligible for Academy Award role in Twisters.
We love movies, and we come at them from different perspectives.
Yeah, like Amy thinks that, Joe Pesci was miscast in Goodfellas, and I don't.
He's too old. Let's not forget that Paul thinks that Dune 2 is overrated.
It is.
Anyway, despite this, we come together to host Unspooled, a podcast where we talk about good movies, critical hits,
fan favorites, must-sees, and in case you missed them.
We're talking Parasite to Home Alone.
From Grease to The Dark Knight.
We've done deep dives on popcorn flicks. We've talked about why Independence Day deserves a second look.
And we've talked about horror movies, some that you've never even heard of, like Ganja and Hess.
So if you love movies like we do, come along on our cinematic adventure.
Listen to Unspooled wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to hit the follow button.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural then and now.